Thank you, Matt. It is great to be back with all of you. Thank you for having me. So I'm going to share a little bit about how we're thinking about AI across Amazon. We have been using AI expansively across the company for the last 25 years. But the way that we think about technology, and this goes for AI as well, is that we're not using it because we think it's cool. We're using it because we're trying to solve customer problems. And that's why when we talk about AI, it's typically less to announce that we've beat the best world-class chess player in the world, and more to allow you to have better recommendations and personalized recommendations in our retail business, or to equip our pickers and our fulfillment centers with the optimal paths so we can get items to you faster, or to put it in our Prime Air drones where we hope to deliver items to you in less than an hour in a couple of years, or for our Just Walk Out technology in our Amazon Go stores, or to fuel Alexa, or to provide you the 25 plus AWS AI services so you can build great applications on top of our services. We prioritize technology that we think is going to really matter for customers. And with the explosion of generative AI the last couple of years, we've taken that same approach. There is a ton of innovation, but what we're trying to do is solve problems for you, what we think of as practical AI. And so what have we seen so far? The most success that we've seen from companies everywhere in the world is in cost avoidance and productivity. And you see lots of companies having gains there, but you also are starting to see completely reimagined and reinvented customer experiences. And we see these same trends when we look at the applications that we're building inside of Amazon around generative AI. So I'm going to give you a few examples. So take customer service. We have a retail business with a few 100 million customers. They occasionally need to contact customer service. The vast majority of them prefer to do it in a self-service way so they can do it quickly and take care of it themselves. And we had built a chatbot many years ago, and it of course used machine learning, but it had static decision trees, and the customers had to enter a lot of words before you got answers. So a couple of years ago, we rebuilt this using generative AI. And so now it's much easier for customers. So imagine I ordered an item a couple days ago. I get on the chatbot, the new chatbot. We know who you are, that you ordered a couple days ago, what you ordered, where you live, and we can predict in this model, if you're contacting us just a couple days later, that you might be contacting us about a return. And so when you start to tell us that, we quickly can tell you where the nearest physical location at a Whole Foods or somewhere else is that you can return that item. And then the model is also smart enough to be able to predict when you're getting frustrated with it, and you might need to be connected to a human for resolution. Now, this chatbot, before we re-engineered it, already had very high customer satisfaction, but since we added the generative AI brain to it, 500 basis points better customer satisfaction. That's practical AI. Or take sellers. We have about 2 million sellers who sell in our retail store worldwide. It's over 60% of the units that we now sell. And the way they get a product onto the website is they have to fill out this very long form. And the reason that there are so many fields is we're trying to make it easy for our customers to navigate and understand what the products are. But it's a lot of work for sellers. And so we rebuilt a tool. We basically built a brand new tool using generative AI such that now sellers only have to enter a few words, or they can take a picture, or they can point to a URL, and then the tool fills in a lot of those attributes. It's much, much easier for sellers. And we have over 500,000 sellers now using our generative AI tools. Or look at inventory management. So think about the scale of the problem we have to solve in our retail business. We have over 1,000 different buildings, or nodes as we call them. And everything we do is optimized to get the right product in a fulfillment center or building close to the end customer to save on transportation time, which means we get it to you faster and we do it for lower cost. And so that means at any one point, we have to understand what's in that fulfillment center, what's the inventory levels of each item, which items are being ordered and at what rate. Do we have more capacity in that fulfillment center? Do we need to move inventory around to other fulfillment centers to balance the network? And so we've used transformer models to solve these problems and make forecasts. And already, our long-term demand forecasting transformer models has improved that accuracy by 10%, And then we've also improved the regional prediction accuracy by over 20%. Those are big gains at our scale. Or think about robotics. We have over 750,000 robots roaming our various fulfillment centers, and they have all sorts of AI in them. But I'll give you the example of Sparrow, which is a robotic arm that does resorting. And so if you got a chance to zoom out of our fulfillment centers, it's really an operation that's constantly taking items from lots of different disparate parts and aggregating them into containers so we optimize the capacity we have and the conveyance that we have. And so what Sparrow is doing is it's taking items from one bin and it's aggregating them into another bin. And so what the generative AI needs to do in Sparrow is it has to tell them what's in the first bin, what item do we want them to go pick up. It has to discern which item is which. It has to know how to grasp that item, given the size of it and the materials and the flexibility of that material. And then it has to know where in the receiving bin it can put it. And so these are all inventions that are critical to us changing the processing time and the cost to serve our customers. So we have about 5 of these brand new robotics inventions that we've pulled together in our Shreveport, Louisiana fulfillment center just a couple months ago that we launched. And already we're seeing 25% faster processing times, and we believe we're going to have 25% lower cost to serve during the holidays because of these AI inventions in our robotics. So these are all examples inside of Amazon of cost avoidance and productivity that are having a real impact. But we're also seeing altogether brand new shopping experiences that we're able to generate and invent with generative AI. So a few examples. I'll start with some agents. Let's start with Rufus, which is our shopping agent. So if you're going to buy an item and you know what you want, I would argue that there isn't a better experience than ordering it on Amazon, having it shipped very quickly to your home. However, if you don't know what you want and you're trying to decide, you can obviously do it at Amazon. Many of you do, bless you, and thank you for doing that. However, and you do it through browse nodes, and you do it through recommendations that we make, and you do it through customer reviews. But there's something nice when you don't know what you want about going into a physical store and asking the salesperson, telling them what you're thinking about and having them ask narrowing questions, and then pointing you to maybe the couple items that you want to consider. And then you look at those items, and you don't have all the data in front of you, and you ask that salesperson, well, what about this, what about that? They can answer it quickly if they don't walk away. And then, you have the ability to make those decisions on what you want quickly. And what we're trying to do with Rufus is we're trying to make that experience even better. So with Rufus, you can go to any product detail page, and instead of going through the plethora of information on that detail page, you can ask any question, and Rufus will answer it really quickly. Rufus will make comparisons for you across products and categories. It'll make recommendations. You can make you can ask really broad questions for recommendations, and it'll ask narrowing questions so it gets at really what your intent is. If you say to Rufus, hey, I want that same golf glove that I always get. Can you find that for me, the one I've ordered? Rufus will find it for you. You can say to Rufus, give me the order status of the items that haven't been delivered yet, and you'll get that too. And one of the nice things about Rufus relative to a physical salesperson is that Rufus is not going to take another job in another retailer, or it's not going to start working in another profession. Rufus is going to be there with you all this time, getting to know your intent and your interests and what you want better and better. Or take another agent in Alexa. So when we started Alexa and we shared that our goal and our mission was to build the world's best personal assistant, a lot of people scoffed at that. And they scoffed at it because it's actually really broad surface area and it's hard to do. I think with the advent of large language models and generative AI, it's quite clear that this is going to exist. And I think if you look at Alexa, which has 500 million active nodes between all of the devices that we've sold and then the way people use this for entertainment and shopping and information and smart home, over 500 million active endpoints, we have a real chance with Alexa to be the leader here. Now, we are in the process right now of re-architecting the brains of Alexa with multiple foundation models. And it's going to not only help Alexa answer your questions even better, but it's going to do what very few generative AI applications do today, which is to understand and anticipate your needs and actually take action for you. And so you can expect to see this in the coming months. Now, in addition to agents, there's a whole bunch of new features that we're able to build with generative AI, which are leading to very different customer experiences. I'll give you a few of these. There's a feature we have called Amazon Lens. So let's say that you're at a friend's house and you see a planter they have that you admire, because this happens to me very often. And you want to know where that planter is from, and you ask your friend, and the friend doesn't know. What you can do today is you can plug into a search engine like Amazon or somewhere else, planter, hanging, macrame. Maybe you'll get a decent answer, probably not. Instead, you can use Amazon Lens, and you can take a picture of that item. And what Amazon Lens is doing is it's using computer vision and then a multimodal model underneath it to do a search query that leads you right to the right search result on Amazon where you can buy it easily. It's really magical and cool. Or take sizing. We have all had this experience where we're buying a shirt and you don't really know if that brand runs large or small, whether you'd be a medium or large in that shirt. What we've done is we built a large language model that takes all the sizing relationships between the many, many brands that we have and compare which ones run like each other, which ones run larger or smaller. And then we're able to look for customers what you've bought before. And when you're at a new brand, we can make the right recommendation for what size you really should order. Very handy, very practical. And then if you look at what we're doing in Prime Video, we have a very deep partnership with the NFL. We've built something together over the years called Next Gen Stats, and we collect 500 million data points every season. And then we've built AI models on top of that. And so you can see some of the features we've built. We've built something called Defensive Alerts, which shows you which defensive player might blitz the quarterback, puts a circle around it, changes the viewing experience. Or we can look at different formations and sets and detect where the defense may be vulnerable. And so we have a defensive vulnerability feature where we can highlight for viewers where the offense should attack. These change the experience for fans. And so these are, by the way, just a few of the almost 1,000 generative AI applications that we are either building or have built inside of Amazon. And we have obviously learned a lot of lessons along the way. And I thought I'd just share a few of those with you, just 3 right now. First is that as you get to scale in generative AI applications, the cost of compute really matters. And all of our generative AI applications around the world, all of us, it's primarily been built with one chip in that compute. And people are very hungry for better price performance. And that's why people are so excited about Trainium 2, as Matt was talking about earlier. Number 2, it's actually quite difficult to build a really good generative AI application. It's about, you need a good model, but it's not just the model. In addition to the model, you have to have the right guardrails, and you have to have the right fluency of the messaging, and you have to have the right UI, and you have to have the right latency, or it's a really slow, laggy experience, and you have to have the right cost structure. And I think a lot of times what happens as you build these apps is you use a great model, you do a little bit of work, and you think, I have a great generative AI app, and it turns out that you're really only about 70% of the way there. And the reality is, customers don't take kindly to apps that have 30% wonkiness. And then the third thing I would say is that I have been surprised with all of the internal building inside of Amazon with the diversity of the models being used. We gave our builders freedom to pick what they want to do. And I figured that almost everybody would end up using Anthropic's Claude models because they're the very best performing models in the world, and have been for the last year or so. And by the way, we have a lot of our internal builders using Claude, but they're also using Llama models, and they're also using Mistral models, and they're also using some of our own models, and they're also using homegrown models themselves. And so this kind of surprised us, but in some ways, as I think about it, it doesn't surprise us, because we keep learning the same lesson over and over and over again, which is that there is never going to be one tool to rule the world. It's not the case in databases. We've been talking about this for 10 years. People use lots of different relational databases or non-relational databases. It's not the case in analytics. I remember 6, 7 years ago being on stage, and we were talking about how everybody thought that TensorFlow was going to be the one AI framework. And we kept saying there are going to be a lot of them, and there were. And it turns out that PyTorch ended up being the most popular one. And the same is going to be true for models. And we see this internally. What we've noticed as we've been building all these applications is that our internal builders have been asking for all sorts of things from our teams that are building models. They want better latency. They want lower cost. They want the ability to do fine-tuning. They want the ability to better orchestrate across their different knowledge bases to be able to ground their data. They want to take lots of automated orchestrated actions, or what people call agentic behavior. They want better image and video. They want a whole bunch of things. And we share that feedback with our model provider partners, and they're very receptive, but they're busy. I mean, you guys want a lot. There's a lot to do. And so it's one of the reasons why we have continued to work on our own frontier models. And those frontier models have made a tremendous amount of progress over the last 4 to 5 months. And we figured if we were finding value out of them, you would probably find value out of them. So I'm excited to share and announce the launch of Amazon Nova, which are our new state-of-the-art foundation models that deliver frontier intelligence and industry-leading price performance. So in this intelligence set of models, there are 4 flavors. The first is micro, which is a text-only model, which means you feed it text and it outputs text. It's laser fast, very cost effective, and our internal builders are really enjoying it for a lot of their simple tasks. And then we have 3 flavors of multimodal models. And so multimodal models, you can input text or image or video, and you output text. And so each of these are in ascending order of size and intelligence. The micro, light, and pro models are generally available today. The premier model will be available in the Q1 timeframe. So I'm going to share a few benchmarks. I'll just say that we used external published benchmarks whenever we could, and when they weren't available, we did it ourselves. We published the methodology on our website, so you can try and replicate it if you like. So I'll just share some of the benchmarks. So on the micro model, you can see it is a very competitive model. If you look at the raw numbers relative to the leading models in this class, Llama and Google's Gemini, on the raw numbers, it benchmarks better on all the variables versus Llama and 12 of 13 versus Gemini. But if you do statistical significance testing, which we did, we just took all the numbers that were overlapping in the 95% confidence interval, and we called those equal. So if you look at that way, which I will moving forward, you can see that we are equal or better on all the benchmarks compared to Llama and Gemini in this class of models. If I look at the light model, it's a very similar story, very competitive. If you compare Nova Lite to OpenAI's GPT-4o Mini, you can see that we're equal or better on 17 of the 19 benchmarks, equal or better on 17 of the 21 benchmarks versus Gemini, and then equal or better on Haiku 3.5 on 10 of the 12 benchmarks. Haiku isn't doing images or video yet, so we couldn't benchmark on as many dimensions. But again, a very competitive model. And then if you look at Pro, same story. If you compare it to GPT-4o, it's equal or better on 17 of the 20 benchmarks. It's equal or better on 16 of the 21 benchmarks versus Gemini. The very best model in this class of models is Sonnet V2 3.5. But even here, you can see that our Pro model is equal or better on about half of those. And on the ones that are not, it's very competitive. And you're going to like the cost and the latency characteristics here. And then our Premier model, which will be our largest multimodal model, will be available in the Q1 timeframe. Now, so that's 4 very competitive, compelling intelligence models. But there are some other things that I think you're going to really like about these models. First, they're really cost effective. they're about 75% less expensive than the other leading models in Bedrock. 2, they are fast. They're the fastest models that you'll see with respect to latency. We'll also make the Nova models available in the SKU that Peter was talking about last night, and the latency optimized inference SKU as well. They're very fast. And then they're not just integrated, they're just not in Bedrock, but they're integrated deeply with all the features in Bedrock that any model provider can use. It's just that this team took the time to do them. And so that means that you get fine-tuning. Increasingly, a lot of our app builders for generative AI, they want to do fine-tuning with labeled examples to make the applications perform better. You'll also be, the Nova models are also integrated with the distillation feature that Matt just talked about, so you can infuse intelligence of bigger models into smaller models that are more cost-effective and lower latency. It's deeply integrated in Bedrock's knowledge bases so that you can use RAG to ground your answers in your own data. And then also, we have optimized these models to work with your proprietary systems and APIs so that you can actually do multiple orchestrated automatic steps, agentic behavior, much more easily with these models. So I think these are very compelling. I'm looking forward to taking a shot at them and using them. Now, customers want to actually do more around generative AI than just with outputs that are text. They also have a lot of needs around images and around video. And there's lots of examples of it, but simple ones are advertising or marketing or trading materials. And so we've worked hard. You know, it's expensive. There aren't a lot of options out here. They're not easy to do yourself. And we've worked hard on this problem. And I'm excited to announce 2 more models for you. First is Amazon Nova Canvas, which is our state-of-the-art image generation model. And so Canvas, it allows you to input natural language text, get images back. They're beautiful images. They're studio quality images. It allows you to edit images using natural language or text inputs. It gives you controls for color scheme and layout. It has a number of built-in controls for responsible use of AI, including watermarking for traceability, as well as content moderation to limit the generation of harmful content. And we benchmarked this as well. We tried to benchmark it versus some of the other state-of-the-art players in this space. In this case, we picked typically what people consider the 2 leaders here, which are you'll see DALL-E 3 and Stable Diffusion 3.5. And we benchmarked on the 2 variables that matter most, which is image quality and instruction following. And you can see that Canvas outperforms both of them on both those dimensions. We also did a human evaluation where you saw similar types of results. So this is a compelling model. And then, of course, we also want to allow you to have it be easy to generate video. And so we're excited to announce the launch of Amazon Nova Real, which is our state-of-the-art video generation model. So again, with Real, it's studio quality video. It's really stunning videos that you can create. It gives you full control of the camera, lets you have motion control, it lets you do panning, it lets you do 360-degree rotation and zoom. It also has built-in AI controls for safe AI, including watermarking and content moderation. We'll launch it with the ability to do 6-second videos, which works really well for a lot of marketing and advertising, on its way up to 2-minute videos in the next few months. We benchmarked this as well. There aren't really many video generation services that have an API, and then none of them have automated benchmarks. So we just took one of the, we benchmarked with human evaluation versus one of the leaders here in Runway, and you're going to see again that Real benchmarks very favorably relative to others. So that's 6 new frontier models for you. What's going to be next for us in Nova? Well, the first thing is the team is going to be working really hard over the next year on the 2nd generation of these models. But I also have a couple things that I thought I'd give you a sneak peek into. The first is that in the Q1 timeframe, we anticipate giving you a speech-to-speech model, which will allow you to input speech and get speech back very fluent, very fast. And then around mid-year, we're going to give you an any-to-any model. So this is really multimodal to multimodal. So you'll be able to input text, speech, images, or video, and output text, speech, images, and video. This is the future of how frontier models are going to be built and consumed, and we're really looking forward to giving this to you. So you may be asking yourself, how should I think about AWS's model strategy? They have very deep partnerships with a number of model providers. They have some of their own models now. And the way I would tell you to think about it is the way that we always provide you selection in everything we do, which is that we are going to give you the broadest and best functionality you can find anywhere. And what that's going to mean is it's going to mean choice. The reality is that all of you are going to use different models for different reasons at different times, which, by the way, is the way the real world works. Human beings don't go to one human being for expertise in every single area. You have different human beings who are great at different things. You're going to sometimes be optimizing for coding, sometimes for math, sometimes for integration with RAG, sometimes for agentic needs, sometimes for lower latency, sometimes for cost, most of the time for some combination of these. And at AWS, we are going to give you the very best combination of all of these, as we always do. And we think we've added some pretty interesting models to the mix today, but the great thing is that all of these models are available for you in Bedrock, and you can use them in whatever combination you want, and you can experiment, and you can change over time, and we will give you that selection and that choice today as well as in the future. So with that, I will say, have at it, giddy up, and back to Matt. Thank you.